Hello, I'm Diane, and today we're going to talk about past tenses in English. Past tenses, they can be complicated and sometimes very difficult to know which past tense to use. So today we're going to look at a few of the different past tenses, talk about why we use them, and I'll give you some examples for each one. So first of all, past simple. Past simple is your best friend. You can use the past simple when you're talking about something that happened and is finished in the past, and especially if you're going to talk about when it happened. So for example, yesterday I went to the beach. Or last week I did my homework. Notice that the past simple has a lot of irregular verbs, so we need to memorize and learn these irregular verbs. But for regular verbs, it's quite simple. We just add ed to the verb. So work becomes worked, walk becomes walked, start becomes started, and there's no auxiliary verb to remember, so it's quite simple. Now, we also have another past tense called the past continuous tense. This tense is also used to talk about something that's finished in the past, but maybe we want to focus on the duration of time that something was happening for. In English, we love to emphasize things, so using the past continuous emphasizes how long something happened. So for example, yesterday I was working on my presentation for hours. It's a long time, so I would say was working instead of worked in English. There's another use of the past continuous, and this is when you're talking about an action in the past that was interrupted by another action. So for example, I was driving to work when I got a phone call. Or I was walking to work when I saw you in your car. So for example, you can use the past continuous when you want to focus on duration or focus on an interruption. But just to be clear, it does not continue to the present. It's in the past and it's finished. Okay, so now let's talk about the tenses that we do use when you're talking about something that started in the past but continues or is relevant to the present. So we can use what we call perfect tenses in English. So present perfect is a tense that we use when something started in the past and continues to the present or is relevant to the present. So for example, you might want to be talking about something that you did in the past, but when you did it in the past is not really that important or relevant to the conversation. It's more about the experience that you have that is relevant to this present conversation. So let's imagine a conversation between two friends. For example, they're deciding on what they want to watch for a movie tonight. So one friend says, have you seen Titanic? Have you seen the movie Titanic? Have you seen? This is the present perfect because we're not asking about a specific time in the past. We're asking about your experience, and that's relevant to this present situation. The friend can reply and say, yes, I saw it last week. So using past simple because they're talking about when they saw it. Or the person could reply, Oh, yes, I have seen it many times. It's finished, it's in the past, but it's not important when it happened. So present perfect is often used when we don't mention when something happened. It's important to note that we also have the present perfect continuous. And this is when an action started in the past and continues still present today. So for example, I have been working at Easy Access English for 3 years. This is a present perfect continuous because it started in the past and continues to the present. So we have been working. I have been living in France for many years. We have been learning English together for 1 year. You can use this tense often in English when you really want to talk about something that is not finished yet. So let's do a little recap. Past simple, it's finished, it's over in the past. You might want to specify when it happened. Past continuous, it's finished, it's over, it's in the past, but there's a focus on duration or maybe an interruption. Present perfect, possibly finished in the past and over, but you're not mentioning when. It's not relevant, it's the experience that's relevant. Present perfect continuous, it's not finished, it continues to the present. Okay, and just when you thought that was enough, we also have the past perfect tenses. So similar to the present perfect, the past perfect tenses have this relationship with two times. So present perfect is a relationship between past and present. Past perfect has a relationship between past and another time in the past. So let's take an example of the past perfect. For example, I saw a friend yesterday. I had not seen him for many years. So I saw him yesterday, past simple. I had not seen him, past perfect, because had not seen him was in the past before seeing him yesterday, also in the past. It's important to note that there's a little connection between the two events. They're not completely isolated. There's a relevance and a connection between not seeing them and then seeing them. Another example I could say, I had studied French before I moved to France. Had studied, it's in the past. Moving to France, also in the past. So two actions, one before the other. Then there's the past perfect continuous. Last one, I promise. I had been studying French for 5 years before I moved to France. So if you really want to focus on the duration of your action and it's in the past, before another action in the past, then use past perfect continuous. Now, that's a lot of information to take in and to absorb. Don't worry and don't stress about trying to use all of these past tenses all the time. Most common is the past simple anyway. So if you want to talk about the past, use the past simple, but try to integrate these other past tenses when you can to really enhance your vocabulary and your sentences.